There are roads that are well traveled and there are roads that are less traveled. Priesthood is an adventure and every youth loves a good adventure. But the adventure lies on the road that's less traveled. I'm Father Cliffton Mendonca from Mumbai city, India. We find three things in a newspaper of today. We'll find the good news, you'll find bad news, and you'll find a lot of advertisements. Well, I'm here to share with you just the good news. The good news, what the Lord has done in my life. So presently I am ministering as an assistant priest at the Cathedral of Holy Name, which is in Colaba. It's the heart of the city. I've been blessed with a very modest nuclear family. Father's name is Joseph Mendonca. My mom is Gladys Mendonca. I have a younger brother, Cliffton Mendonca. And so for my early childhood, I lived in an island called Bahrain. It's the Middle East. Christianity is not the primary religion there. And yet, in some sense, God sends me and my family as a nomad to practice faith in that place. I remember growing up, we had to go to church at least twice a week. I remember having faith. I don't remember a period of time where I didn't believe in God. And I did have a period in my youth where I questioned God. But faith was always there. It was part and parcel of my family. We had to pray the rosary every day, I remember. Today when I just think, when I see the world today, when I see youth today, why have I been able to figure out where I am going to the best of my ability? Like, I'm not as lost today, as lost as other people, because somehow I have faith life, I have God. And I think, and all my mind can go back to are those rosaries and those prayers. And that accrues over time and gives you a benefit when you least realize. The oldest memory I have of a priest is, we were in this church, it was a huge church, and I see a priest walking. We were quite distracted as kids. We would see what people are doing, whatever. And then suddenly when the priest walks, everybody's turned. So mom said, no, he's a priest and they sacrifice a lot and they give up their lives for Christ and they celebrate mass and they do this. And she tried to explain to me and I was like, oh, that's such a cool thing to sort of want, to desire. And that began my fascination with the priesthood. So by then I realized that to be a priest, you had to take 3 vows, like 3 basic things. So it's poverty, it's chastity, and it's obedience. And so God, through His wisdom, gave me the opportunity to do mechanical engineering. So the plan was this: I do 4 years of a graduation in mechanical, BE mechanical, go abroad for masters, do an aerospace engineering, and then just hope for God that I get picked up in a good company and life goes on. And so I was well on my path. The one thing that went different or happened differently was in 12th standard, my mother asked me to come for a retreat. Then she told me, by the way, the retreat is in a regional language called Konkani. But strangely, I understand little of it and I speak none of it. And the retreat was for 4 days and I went there. And was taken by these 2 lay brothers, actually. And priests would come and pray and say mass and adoration and things like that. And it was a mixture of that. Somehow that retreat made an impact in my life. And the impact it made was this. This God who I believed with the mind suddenly became a person to me. I started relating to Him suddenly at the level of the heart. God from a concept in my head became a person in my heart that I could relate to. I'm an introvert. I'm not an extroverted person. I'm an introvert. I was a very shy youth. I had a lot of social anxiety. I did not like to be put in social situations. I would feel extremely inferior. All my life, in fact, until I joined seminary, I felt a fish out of water. Right, for my own family I felt, I don't know what is life, And it was in that retreat that something changed in that sense. That I realized that we don't live life alone, that God is there. He can not just hear, but He is genuinely actually present, And I was sorry for the wrong things that I did. And little did I know that's going to set me on a completely different path. So after that experience of God in the 12th standard at the retreat, I found God doing two things in my life. First, He was blessing me in my career. With all its challenges, mechanical engineering is difficult, but He would help me to study, to give my time. College would be long hours. At the same time, He was forming me as a person, my personality. He was transforming me through the youth group. I was in the same youth group, Konkani speaking youth group. So learning this new language in that sense, trying to express things in that language. We started doing a lot of plays. I was a person who thought I had no talents. I started playing the guitar. I started singing. I started acting. I eventually realized I can write. I eventually realized I can direct plays. And I have this thing for plays, And little do we realize, but to be a priest is a bit like a director of things. You direct the mass. You act in the person of Christ. You direct people, get people together. And God has a great vision for things. Sometimes I think life's a bit like a game of carom. God sets the die, and then we are playing. Sometimes what you have put, I wanted to go to Canada, it went right in, and sometimes I shoot and it misses. But eventually, some or the other way, all coins go in. That's the beauty of God's great grand design. And it was at that time I did another retreat. It was what we call as a growth retreat. So not just so you spend time praying, you spend time a lot in silence, you spend a lot of time with yourself. It's like this high. You're high on God. And this place is called. So I prayed that whole night. The next thing I know, I finished the retreat. I come out. There's priesthood signs everywhere. And I spent some time discerning. And I got many signs, but I eventually said, God, I don't want these signs. You have to give me an impossible sign. Because tomorrow, years later, when I doubt, I need to stand on firm ground that this was what you wanted me to do, not just what I wanted to do. Right? And so I made an impossible prayer. I said, you go and tell my mother in her prayer time that I should become a priest. Yeah? And if she comes and tells me, and I know she was worried, parents are worried. Child has done his engineering, did so well, gone abroad, had this lifetime opportunity, come back from here, not getting a job. So I know she was praying that I get a job, that I settle down, that I'm a little more happier with what I'm doing. My dad as well. So I knew my mother was not looking for this. And you won't believe, for 3 months, nothing. I made that prayer, all the signs stopped. These random signs that were coming stopped. And I realized, thank God, maybe I was making a mistake. In my frustration, maybe I'm trying to give up and run into this other thing. And 3 months later, one day in the morning, I still remember, she woke 9:30, she came to my room and said, it's a strange thing I want to tell you, but I think you should join the consecrated life. I don't know, I prayed this morning and I know those 3 months my mom wasn't in the best prayer life. That's why I made that impossible prayer. And one day, just out of the random, oh my God, when she said that, I was like, oh no, but I thought, the answer is no. Why are you bringing this up after 3 months again? Why? And I told my mother the entire thing, what's been happening. And she said, oh, no. Then she said, you're done. You have to go now. You have to figure it out. Even after that, I could not accept. Then I went to a priest. I started talking to him. He invited me over for some youth programs, just so that I could notice his life, notice if this. And things just worked smoothly. These things that would upset another person, I was very natural with it. I went for my interview, smooth. I didn't even know how you became a priest, right? I had to Google it. How do you become a priest? I just knew I had to become a diocese. I knew that there were Jesuits, and I didn't want to join any of that. I knew I had to be a diocese. But where to go, whom to meet, where's their seminary? Nothing. I Googled it. And then I went. The procedure happened. And I remember telling my dad and my brother, and also formally my mother, after that discernment incident, just 2 weeks before I had to leave. I didn't ask them. I just said, this is it, I'm going. There are people who prayed rosaries every day, but they said, yeah, this is it. Don't worry about engineering, don't worry about investments and all that, what we did for you, don't worry. This is your thing, go. And if you can't get it done and things change, because 8 years is a long time, come back. These are people of faith. People of faith. And I am so grateful to them, because that's when I reached seminary and my life gets into third gear from there. Life in the seminary is a great opportunity for growth and development. And I've spent almost all my 20s in the seminary, and I feel I've received 4 types of formation in the seminary. The root is spirituality. And so spiritual formation was always the hardest. To manifest your conscience honestly and appropriately to your spiritual director. We used to have monthly sessions. Those were quite painful, those were quite hard. But this helped me to be open. Priesthood is that. If I have to put it in one word, it is openness. Openness to the people, openness to yourself, openness to God, openness to your superiors, openness to your friends and benefactors. This is it. And if your spirituality, the roots are strong in this, then you can be open. If not, then the priesthood starts getting distorted very soon, and in ways and means you don't understand. And that's also the priesthood, a side of priesthood we are seeing today globally, right? The second formation is academic formation. I enjoyed my academic formation. There's philosophy, there's theology. I've already come from a science background, so I don't know much of arts. But this compensated for a lifetime of study. There was so much to study. A priest has to know really so many things. It was famously said in the seminary that you have to be a jack of all trades and a master of at least one. But it forms you, it teaches you, it helps you glance into the mysteries of the kingdom of God. You know, this is amazing. It's much more deeper than understanding simply how the world works. The third pillar of formation that we are growing in is pastoral formation. We don't become priests to celebrate Mass to ourselves, to celebrate the sacraments. The sacraments are always administered to the people. So how do you relate to people? Every year we had to spend time in the parish on the weekend. During holidays, spend some time with the people, get to know different associations, minister, because tomorrow we are leaders of these associations. So my interactions with people, that also was a formative experience, because I was a person very shy, very quiet, not very socially anxious, but to get to know people. And people love their priests. They share so openly, and this motivates you. It helps you realize this empathetic relationship between priest and parishioner. And without that, I think ministry gets so hard. People, and today with the synodality that Pope Francis is talking about, it's the heart of formation, to be with the people. So it helped me to be very pastoral. You understand the rules, but when you apply it to people, how do you do that in a way that Jesus did? That takes time. And the final one is human formation. The strangest thing the seminary helped me in being humanly formed was sports. Sports is something I never really spent too much time doing. I was not a very sporty person. It was so thin, and it didn't fit my profile. But in seminary, I picked up so many sports. I picked up TT, I picked up a little bit of carom as well. And so sports was a time where you challenge yourself. Competition, that's where growth happens, and a healthy competition. The brothers in the seminary, we are a brotherhood because we have no other family now. And in this brotherhood, how do you make each other better and yet love the other? The 12 disciples, how do you not get into that bickering side of the 12, but the loving side of the 12 that built the church that we are professing today and they're promoting today, the good news. So these 4 things of seminary, gave me a great boost. And when the time came for ordination, and this is I think the greatest humorous thing God does in my life. So my ordination was on the 28th of March 2020. 1 week before that, this global pandemic hits and my ordination is postponed. It's postponed to the next month. We thought it'll get over. Then it was postponed to another month. For 9 months. Like a woman is waiting to give birth to that child. For 9 months, my priesthood is stuck. And I was ordained, and all of us were joking that I think the 8 years of formation God felt was a little less. Something was missing in that years. But even in those 9 months, the experiences were so blessed. What God was teaching us, the uniqueness that He gives to us in our priesthood. And finally, we got ordained on the feast of Saint Francis Xavier, missionary to India, a great saint. I never thought I would. December was finally when I was ordained, December the 3rd, and it was a very small function. I had more people for my diaconate than I had for my ordination. And an ordination is supposed to be your old friends and family, and nobody could come. But what a novel experience. I remember even now, when I walked down the aisle for my ordinations, I had tears in my eyes. I don't know why. But this great feeling of that I am graced, that I am chosen. Not that I'm special, but that Christ has made me that He has formed me all through those years. Whatever He was doing was geared to this ministry of the priesthood.
Acceptable to God, our Father in heaven. The Lord be with you. Lift up your hearts. Let us give thanks to the Lord our God.
I remember celebrating my first Mass in my home parish at Orlem, Our Lady of Lourdes. Of course, it was pandemic times. I remember very strangely, it's a celebration, right? So you would like to wear festive colors, but it was the week of Advent. And I had to wear purple. So I was thinking, I was telling the people, I hope you don't feel we have come for a funeral. It is the ordinations, but Advent is a time of waiting, right? So I waited for a long time, so God has planned His liturgy perfectly. And often people ask, that how is it after 8 years, finally you're lifting the body of Christ and lifting the chalice? It's the greatest feeling. When you raise it up, it's amazing. I feel so humbled in the entire Mass. I feel that's the best thing for me. I love that. And after every elevation of the body and the elevation of the blood, we do this genuflection. I feel it's a moment of great surrender. It's a moment that God can do such great things for us if we can just surrender in His life. I know I'm in the presence of Jesus Christ. Any sacrament, He is present. Is He not present in other times? Of course He is. But He is specially present here. Yes, God is present even in the mundane things of our life, but His specialness comes in these sacraments, and that's when grace flows. Even when you don't want it to, even when you don't think it will, it will. We just have to open ourselves to that reality in that sense. And so, I remember when I was reflecting on what the theme of my priesthood should be, I wanted the theme to come from God, and I chose Luke chapter 15, the prodigal son, right? These two sons actually who are lost in the world. And this father who's lost in love for these two sons who are lost. And I love that because in all my life I've been lost. I'm a fish out of water in this world, which is not our world. No? We are in the world but not of it, waiting for the kingdom to come. And so from all my life I've been lost, far away, physically sometimes, emotionally, spiritually. And God has searched me out from far places and brought me back time and time again. Even now He brings me back. And this is the message I want to give every kid, every youth, every senior citizen, every person. I don't think people really appreciate God and the church in good times. So they would not appreciate a priest perhaps in good times. But in bad times, that's when you need a priest. Because who else is going to give you the answers? Even we struggle with the answers. So you can imagine the world's not going to give you great answers about it. And so I think those are the moments, and those are moments of suffering for a priest also. Because just imagine if all 24 hours I'm just managing difficult emotions, difficult situations, difficult people. It gets hard as a priest, because today the church is struggling, wherever it may be, because not many are coming, and those who are coming with a lot of weight of the world on their shoulders, and it's difficult for them to surrender. We go through 8 years of formation, we have times that of great renewal.